New financial year requires methodical planning. Are you the one who in March randomly invested somewhere so that you could save tax? If you are the one, then today's program is for you. Welcome to Investors Hangout, brought to you by Aditya Birla Sun Life Mutual Fund and Value Research. With me is the CEO of Value Research, Dhirendra Kumar. Dhirendra, welcome.
Thank you.
So, an investment plan to help our viewers save taxes and also achieve their life goals. Time and again you've been saying that please do not rush in the month of March to save tax. What should a person be doing? How should one go about investing so that you can save tax in a planned manner?
No, first and foremost, savings and investment has nothing to do with tax saving. You should worry about saving and investment the moment you start earning, because in your earning years you have to plan for the years when this money that you save has to provide for the years when you won't work and you still you'll need the money, and so it has nothing to do with it. Then when investing, you should actually prioritize things. So of course, if it is a financial year if it is acting as a trigger, I will just list the priorities once again for you to follow.
Sure.
One is that, if your starting point is tax saving, then we end up getting the most inappropriate kind of insurance that generally happens to be the starting point of most investors. We buy a policy and it is generally inappropriate. It is insurance linked with investments and you don't get best of either. So and you don't get a great insurance, because getting insurance, it's a higher priority.
Yes.
So everybody should work on this methodically. The moment you have financial dependence, you should have insurance, and that should be your first stop. And the only insurance that you need is term insurance. You pay money, get protection, nothing happens to you, the money is gone. Something happens to you, you get such a meaningful coverage that no investment will actually be able to provide it. And you need this insurance only till you have not been able to provide, you have not been able to accumulate your financial net worth, which in 4-5 years time, 7 years time, 10 years time, if you are able to save and invest and that money grows to the extent that it can take care of your family, you don't need the insurance. So the need for insurance expires, and in between it changes dramatically depending on the scale of dependence, financial dependence people have on you. Then comes, having the emergency money, how much money you will need at any time at a short notice, and that depends on your own circumstances. Rest of the money you don't need for many years. Get started. Your first stop should be, if you are a taxpayer, then it should be as much money you can save, and then be methodical about it. Assuming that you are a self-employed person, and you can save 1.5 lakh rupees, and in a year's time, and that will be a deductible expense from, it will be deducted from your income. This is the only tax provision that you have for saving taxes with investments. So I think, if you are young, get started with a tax saving fund, invest 12,500 rupees every month from April, and you will be able to average your investment. And think of, and all the tax saving investment comes with a 3-year lock-in period. But look beyond 3 years, look beyond 3 years, maybe think of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So that, you are able to, even this 1.5 lakh rupees accumulation, if somebody is just able to barely save 1.5 lakh rupees a year and keeps doing this for 5, 7, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, you run the possibility of accumulating something sizable in relation to your monthly income. It can well be, if you're disciplined about it, this could well be your retirement plan, maybe more.
Okay. There are people who have a whole lot of insurance policies with them. What is the thumb rule that they need to have when it comes to the insurance that we're talking about? It's a complex thing that we're talking about, and
no, it's not complex.
No, it is not? Okay.
It's not. It's fairly straightforward. Take out all your old policy.
Yeah,
see if you have, and see if you have a term plan. Hold it. Whether it's expensive or cheap, doesn't matter. Keep your term plans. Get rid of your endowment and unit-linked policies. It's fairly straightforward, because most of the time, we don't read the fine print. We get the policy document. Every investor in a ULIP has a 15-day free lookup period. So in your first 15 days of your investment, or purchase of these plans, you can return your policy to get your money back without any deduction. But we don't do that. We keep the envelope, the policy document envelope, sealed nicely in our locker. Take it out, read it. It is hard to read. It is mostly all in fine print. But take it out, understand the surrender, and don't surrender in a half. The surrender policies of these policies, the surrender policy of all these policies individually, that varies. If you hold it for 3 years, 5 years, the surrender charges come down dramatically. And if you have done the waiting for 4.5 years, maybe make your calendar. Think of it as a mistake of resulting from unawareness. And as you become aware, it's like fixing your mistake.
Okay. So what Dhirendra is saying in a nutshell is that you need to have a term plan, term insurance with you, and if need be, top up. Right, Dhirendra? If need be, they need to top up the term plan that they have.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's not actually top up. Have the term plan of an appropriate scale, because top up is
need-based.
It's need based. If you are earning well and if you have no financial dependence, you don't need insurance. The moment you get, the moment you have financial dependence, if you get married and your wife will be financially dependent on you, you need an insurance of a sizable scale. Then the moment you have children, their dependence, and the need for larger financial coverage rises or grows. So, you need an even larger insurance. The moment you buy a house and buy a house on loan, that need grows further. And the moment you start, and gradually you start accumulating your savings. So and gradually you repay your EMIs are done. You need a smaller coverage. Then your children get settled or a part of their education is done, and you don't need as much money. So your need changes over time. That need has to be fulfilled by term insurance. So do a periodic review. Do a review the moment there is a big change in your personal status. Getting married, having children, buying a house. I think these are 3 big triggers. That's it. And the moment you have been able to accumulate your savings to support those needs, you don't need the insurance. So it changes dramatically. That can be fulfilled only by a term plan. It cannot be fulfilled by an endowment plan or a ULIP policy.
Okay, I'll come to that. So we need to retain our term plan. What about the health insurance?
Oh, health insurance is mandatory. These 2 things, the need for a term plan if you need it, and the need for health insurance is mandatory. You can't get started with your investments till you have it. And of course you get tax deduction on the spending that you do on this, because it can completely derail your investment plan. If you plan to invest 8,000 rupee, 15,000 rupee, and being unwell for 3 months or 6 months, all your investment plans will go haywire. So it's important, and small expenses you can bear. It is unlikely to radically alter your budget, but this is one thing. So health insurance, look at it more in terms of and be transparent about it. Build your track record. As you are young, you are unlikely to be of course nothing can be said, but more likely your need for health insurance or to be able to avail that comes down is lower. So as you build your track record, you are building your track record with the health insurance company, that your health insurance, and you get a larger coverage with smaller premium if you are able to build a credible, a track record of not taking not availing that.
Okay, so you're asking
not taking a claim.
Okay, you're asking our viewers to not only retain term insurance, but surrender all other policies,
all mixed of insurance and investment.
My question to you is, wouldn't it come at a loss?
Yeah,
you tend to get very little back from if you surrender.
Fix your mistake and make the money work from here on efficiently. That's the principle, and just bite the bullet.
Okay. Fix your mistake is what Dhiren is saying. Okay, let's move on to the investments now. What's your advice on investment, including the tax saving ones? I think I referred to the bucket program that we did sometime back.
Yes, but more than the bucket, yes, that exactly is the principle to be followed. first 1.5 lakh rupees, if you are a taxpayer, must get into 8TC investment, and that should be a tax saving fund. Even if you are getting closer to your retirement, that's fine, because it comes with the highest potential growth. It comes with the shortest liquidity, lock-in period, and most people don't have any equity in their portfolio in India. So this turns out to be the only equity investment that they're making, and the 3-year mandatory lock-in enhances the possibility of having a positive experience with your equity investment, because many a times investors lose money, or they have a disappointing experience with equity simply because they have the access to their money anytime. So if you invest and your money goes down by 10%, you tend to curse it for a long time and take your money out, and you don't benefit from it. The 3-year lock-in period, the worst case scenario has been in the last 20 years with these tax saving funds, that even if you chose the worst one and you held it for 3 years, you made little more than what you would have earned from PPF anyway. Occasionally, on 1 or 2 such occasion, if you bought it in March or in December 2007 and held it for 3 years, maybe you earned 7% or for a 3-year holding period. But except for few such occasions, 3-year holding period reduces the possibility of having a bad first experience of equity, and that actually is very important, because most investors, so the forced lock-in works, this most investors don't have. So first 1.5 lakh rupee, go for the ELSS. Rest of the money, go for your multi-cap, or have 1 or 2 funds, get going.
Okay. Would you like to term it into money needed in 5 years, money needed after 5, or long-term?
Yeah, of course. As I was referring to that 4-bucket system, the money that you need for in emergency, that should be in fixed income funds. That should be in, the money that you are likely to need in 2-3 months, 6 months, 1 year, that should be in your bank account. Or maybe a liquid fund from where you can access it at a 24-hour notice. You make a redemption request, you get the money in half an hour or 1 hour up to a certain extent, and remaining money, larger money, can actually come back to your bank account in about 24 hours time. Then the money which you are unlikely to need for 5 years and more should be in equity, and that's generally the rule. And if you are able to follow this, and the first thing should be filled up is the tax saving. Avail that money, tax save is money earned, so must avail this entitlement to the extent possible. And beyond that 1.5 lakh rupee, your savings potential, the amount that you can save beyond 1.5 lakh rupee should find its way into multi-cap funds. So these are 2-3 principles to follow. Of course, your most investors, they're mandatory. Anybody who in the organized sector will, or with the government, will have his GPF or the EPF deduction coming in. That is also an eligible investment. So 1.5 lakh rupees minus that, if you are actually budgeting your tax saving, if you are budgeting your investment for taxes, if you are short of money, then you have to really ration that. But otherwise, if you can save more, avail more than your entitlement. But all these things actually qualify for that 8TC benefit, your Provident fund deduction, the tax saving fund, or the premium for term insurance will also qualify. Also, the tuition fee for your children's education for 2 children is also an eligible expense. But look at it more as an expense. Think of it as an opportunity or an excuse to invest for the long term, and that will come in handy.
Okay, and in all this, timing plays a crucial role. As we've been talking about, this is the start of the financial year, and therefore they should start now for the tax planning. And of course, long term, they have to think and plan as they go along.
Yes, I would say that these are principles to be followed at all times. This happens to be a financial year start. If that acts as a trigger for you to get your house in order, by all means use this as an opportunity. It's good for you. Yeah. One important thing is that your savings and investment should be methodical. It should fit in with your income cycle. We earn every month. We pay our EMIs every month. We borrow to repay every month. So we should save every month, and it just fits in well. And likewise, your estimate for tax saving investment in a year is also defined. So you should do it every month so that you are not under any undue pressure in the month of March.
I've learned from the range, 12,500 every month. I've put it as my tax saving. And,
Yes.
it's simple now. It's easier for me to do my investment that way and save tax. Warren Buffett said, do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving.
Yes, and that should be the start. That should be the rule which everybody should follow. Otherwise, if we have, maybe Warren Buffett said way too early when there were not too many spending avenues. Today we are actually looking at opportunity. You go to a mall and you see things where everything is available on EMI. Sometimes even a phone or a low-priced phone is also available on an EMI. So they tempt you to spend money. In this situation, you have to be really disciplined to be or at least a modest saver or a regular saver at all times.
So plan ahead. This is a financial year, particularly about tax saving. Do it from this month onwards till March of the financial year, so that you are not stressed financially and you are well planned and you reap the benefit of it. We move on to the Q&A section of this program, and we have a video question which is coming from Vipin. Let's listen to the question.
Balance fund or hybrid fund which offers ATC benefit for the taxation? If not, what can the investor do if he doesn't want to have investment in the ELSS fund, which is the pure equity fund?
Okay, so Vipin is asking about are there any balanced funds or hybrid funds that provide a Section 80C benefit?
Yes, there are some avenues where you can invest to save taxes conservatively. Because the tax saving funds, they invest 100% of the money in equity. There are two pension plans offered by mutual fund which invest only up to 40% in equity, remaining 60% in fixed income. So they are a conservative vehicle. Even the national pension system is more conservative. It gets you the 80C benefit. The maximum that you can invest in, the amount that gets into NPS in equity through NPS is 50%. So that's also a conservative vehicle. There is a catch. The NPS, your money is locked in till your retirement. 40% gets can be converted into annuity. 40% can be withdrawn, and 20% 40% you can take out, and 20% on a special occasion you can withdraw. So this is one part. I would say that Vipin is young. He should not be scared of equity. The minimum, I think equity is risky if you are investing for few days, few weeks, few months. The minimum period that you will be investing in a ELSS is 3 years. I think the possibility of losing money or being very disappointed with a 3-year holding period, that too in a methodical way, comes down dramatically. If the other way of reducing your risk is not to invest at one go. So maybe do your SIPs in a tax saving fund, you reduce it. Maybe elongate, think longer than 3 years, you reduce your risk even further. But I would say that investors should embrace some risk. Volatility is not risk. Volatility will turn into risk if you're thinking short term.
Abhishek writes to us that I'm an NRI investor. I started investing in 2007, but I exited the market in 2008 and never came back again. Over the last 10 years, my accumulated money is all in fixed deposits. Please suggest how should I get started in mutual funds?
Yes, this is the kind of experience which drives investors out, and you miss out on the big opportunity that market provides. And take lesson from your own experience. Never invest lump sum. This is what you did last time. 2007, the market peak after market went up from 2,800 points to 2,800 points in 2003 to 20,000 points in 2007. So after this market went up, you invested. So it was a lot of investors were investing in a hurry because market was going up very dramatically every day. So you invested lump sum. You saw a little bit of ride, and then you saw the big decline. So the lesson to take here is never invest at one go. Be methodical about it. Choose a conservative vehicle. And depending on the scale of investment that you are making, and depending on its importance, If this money that you have accumulated in fixed deposit is your lifetime savings, spread it over the next 3 years. And maybe for somebody like you who has a bad experience to begin with, should invest in a balanced fund. Choose 2 balanced funds and spread your investments over the next 36 months in them. And so you'll be able to average your investment. Your investments will not crumble like before, because balanced funds are normally 70%, 65, 70% into equity, 30% into fixed income. So a big market did drop, and exactly similar kind of drop is not there in the balanced fund. So these two things to do, and the return that you derive from these investments will also be a little more tax efficient, because your money in fixed deposit is yielding low return. Apart from that, every year the tax gets deducted. It is treated as your income. You are not liable to pay taxes till you withdraw your money to consume.
Okay. Our next viewer who's written to us is Poonam Balam, and unfortunately he has lost his job. He's 42 years of age, and he says that I'm planning to start my own business now. Currently I have rupees 35 lakhs in EPF. This was a big savings. This is a big savings for me, he writes, and I don't want to touch it for the next 15 years. Please advise, where should I invest this to get good returns?
If you are really convinced about not needing this money for next 15 years, then I would say that, be little venturesome. Not big, very venturesome, but a little bit. And also, this EPF money is very good, because is very good when you are at work. But the moment you are out of job, after 1 year, after you lose your job, all the interest income accumulating, all the returns in your employee provident fund account becomes taxable. Till you are in a job, it is tax free. So all the accumulation that is happening is tax free. So I would say that assume little risk. That is the best way of potentially beating inflation. It might turn out to be a good idea to be forced to take your money out from the provident fund account, because provident fund is entirely fixed income. Only recently they have started a little bit in equity, and I don't know, it is not structured in a manner that equity performance translates into superior return in a very transparent way for EPFO subscribers. It is a big black box with a lot of employee provident fund doesn't have a NAV, doesn't have the valuation of assets on a daily basis the way mutual funds work, or the way NPS works. So I would say that approach it conservatively. Consider the growth options of monthly income plans, which has about 10 to 15% allocation to equity. All the money that you will take out from provident fund should not be invested at one go. It should be spread over 12 to 18 months, 1.5 year, 2 years, even in those conservative vehicles, because even a 10% decline in value, or 5% decline in value, and investing at one go could be quite unnerving for an investor in his state, where he's lost his job, starting his business, and then sees a capital loss on his lifetime savings so far. So do 3 things: take your money out, put your money in a MIP or a equity income fund, spread the investments over the next 18 months, and with the assumption that you are unlikely to be accessing this money for the next 15 years.
Okay, I've seen a lot of people, especially in private sector, they move from one job to the other. They do not transfer their provident fund, and a particular fund is left for 10 years or so. Mm-hmm. So all that is taxable.
No, that thing has changed. Now if you move your job, earlier you had to switch your provident fund account. So you'll close from your previous employer and then open a new account. Now it is transferable. So you move from one job to another, your provident fund shifts. The new employer now contributes to that. If you lose your job and if you are out of job, earlier what used to happen is that your accumulation in provident fund, that money lies there and it keeps earning. All the returns will keep accumulating, and all the accumulation of return, all the interest income, so to say, was tax free. No longer. Now you lose your job and all the interest income becomes taxable.
Okay. Our next question is from Bhoom, and it says that I wanted to start investing in hybrid mutual funds through SIP, but I am discouraged with sudden fall in their returns. Should I still go for these funds?
oh, get started, you are missing out on opportunity. In fact, the fall in value, you are getting it cheaper. But you will actually appreciate this only if you have 2-3 things in mind. One is that compare the reason why you were choosing a hybrid fund. They should have fallen less than an all equity fund. And you would have realized that because being hybrid, 20-30%, I don't know which one you're referring to, if it's a balanced fund or an equity income fund or a monthly income plan, which has different allocation to equity and fixed income. That is one way of looking at it. So it has balance, the hybrid funds have fallen less than equity. So one thing is achieved. Even these hybrid funds, you have to think long term. You are not investing for the short run. If you are investing for 5 years and more, this is a good way. So you should be investing regularly. Third thing is that you are going to invest if the market has come down, you are buying it cheaper, and this 3, 4, 5 years time frame that you have and investing regularly will actually enhance your return.
Okay. Moving on, what is the minimum amount to invest in SIP for salaried government employee? Asks Vinod.
Some funds offer, a minimum investment of 500 rupees. Some funds, have an investment minimum of 1,000 rupee. So these are the investment minimum.
There is no
for
minimum
SIP
amount for a government employee.
and the investment, mutual fund investment does not differentiate between government, private or unemployed.
Yeah.
If you get this money from anywhere, you get started.
And related to this, Vivek asks, what should I do to my SIPs when market is in the correction mode? Should I answer the day? Keep on.
Yeah, I would say that, just look at, don't look at the investment values, and in fact, market correction mode, feel happy that you are buying it cheaper. And if you get distracted, if you feel unhappy, you will be disappointed, because the investment accumulation is a game of patience. You have to do it, and more so it's very difficult. Your first 6 months, 12 months, you are very curious, you are very excited.
Right.
And if it is in a rising market as it was 3 months back, you are feeling happy. So there was also an instant gratification that you claimed that you did it and it's working.
Right.
And suddenly you realize that it worked and it is all gone. But you are doing it for the long run. You are doing it for your retirement. You are doing it for your child's education 10 years away. So, and when you see this money, and market will be like this only. It has always been like this. It is easier to start and invest in a rising market, but it is more profitable to be investing through a very turbulent market where the market eventually does well, and which it does invariably.
Okay. Aisha writes in, I have a bunch of mutual funds. I'm currently investing via SIPs, 2 large caps, 2 multi-caps, 1 balanced fund, 1 small cap fund, 1 short-term debt fund and 1 liquid fund. My question is, she writes, how should one choose from this myriad of mutual fund categories?
There are different ways of choosing complexity, or there are different ways of simplifying your investment choice. You can achieve all of this with just a balanced fund and 1 small cap fund. That's it. You can do without the short-term debt fund or the multi-cap fund or the large cap fund. No, mutual funds are of too many kind. She has actually chosen the more, the needed kind. I can still justify it.
Okay.
But you can simplify your investments by just having 3-4 kind. Multi-cap fund and small cap fund to enhance your return, and maybe something tax saving fund, which is essential. But you can do without having too many of them. You can do without having a large cap fund. You can do without having a balanced fund if you are having multi-cap fund, or multi-cap fund if you have balanced fund. So you can just do with one. And that depends on your experience with the market. If you get very disappointed with the correcting market, it is good to be with a balanced fund. If you are fine with, if you have been with, and that is a function of your experience with the market. If you have been investing regularly for 4-5 years, it won't hurt you. But if you are a relatively new investor, it is always good to be starting with a balanced fund. Small cap fund to magnify your return, because nowadays I find that many large cap funds, multi-cap funds, or balanced fund, they have very small exposure to small caps, which actually are promising. But small caps are also very unnerving. They fall so freely. in a market correction that it could, it can scare you. So, and can drive you out of the market permanently. So have a small allocation and then have a holistic view, do an annual review. So maybe I'll give you alternative plans. Have a balanced fund, have a small cap fund, and have nothing without the short-term funds and other things, because short-term funds and other things, maybe, if you have something within next 5 years, don't do a rebalancing. Or have a multi-cap fund and have your small cap fund if you're a long-term investor. Within the multi-cap fund and the balanced fund, if there is a need for a tax-saving fund to save taxes, earmark 1.5 lakh rupees to a tax-saving fund. I would consider that as a multi-cap fund which has a lock-in of 5 years and gets you the tax benefit.
Quickly take the last one. Ali Asgar's writes, I have 25 lakhs which I want to invest to buy a house 4 years from now. I wish to know if investing in aggressive funds for this period will enable me to lower the amount of home loan I need to take. And do you see it worthwhile to invest fully right away?
No way. You should, in fact, I would err on the side of caution. I would say that, of course, it's a negotiable goal. Buying a house 4 years from now or even 5 years from now is unlikely to make a very big difference. Of course, it's not a goal like your child's education that he has to get into the school or college at a defined date. Despite that, I would say that err on the side of caution. Go with a balanced fund because 4 or 5 years is not a very long time frame. Never invest at one go, because it's important to buy the house than actually get lucky with the market timing, because markets are very unpredictable in the short run, and it can actually devastate your plan or belief system in the market if you invest at one go.
That's all we have in today's program. Remember, savings is the prerequisite of investment, and you need to save today. Till we meet next time, it's goodbye from Dhirendra and me, Rajesh Lake.